Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm here with a comparison review between the Google Pixel 3 XL and the OnePlus 6T. So these are both flagship tier phones. Now neither one of them really makes a less than flagship tier phone, but these are the latest iterations of their devices. So it's a lot of cool and exciting stuff going on. They are a little late to the game with regards to some of the hardware because the Snapdragon 845 came out back at the end of March, early April, and the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. So here we are, we're talking about October, November, respectively for these devices, and they're still running a Snapdragon 845. So it's still the flagship processor for the year, but it's coming up where it's almost a year old now, and we're going to start seeing the next version when the S10 comes out. But either way, they're both running pretty much the same thing under the hood for the most part. There are differences between both. Most notably, some of the enhancements to the display, the cameras, and also some other things like IP68, water and dust resistance in the Pixel, and also wireless charging. Those are some things that got lost in the OnePlus. But purely from a numbers perspective, you're looking at $899 for a Pixel 3 XL for the base model, and you get a base model OnePlus 6T for $549, or you get the T-Mobile variant for $579, which is what I have. So both of the devices, they look great. This is the shiny black. I can't remember exactly what the color name is. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Midnight black, mirror black. So this is the mirror black color, and it looks really good. It actually has a very similar form factor to me. It reminds me a lot of the Samsung Galaxy S9. It's got a tapered, kind of like a tapered appearance, the way that the form factor is on the back. It rounds off as it goes towards the edges. It's really easy to hold. And this Gorilla Glass 6 that it has on the back and the front, it really makes it feel solid. So cool, lots of nice things going on. It picks up fingerprints really easily, so you have to be cautious of that. Also, on the side here, it has the mute switch, which is pretty much exclusive to them in Android. And I wish more phone companies would go ahead and put that in there because I like it on my Apple phones, and this is very nice. So over here, you've got the power button. You got the volume rocker over here on the left-hand side, along with the SIM tray. And then, of course, like I said, your mute switch. You got the USB-C on the bottom, and there's no 3.5mm headphone jack, so they did take that out. There's another point of contention with some people. And then they did a really good job with this whole notch thing. It's the most unintrusive notch out of any phone that I've used, especially in this generation of the notch world. And the stark comparison you're going to see in the Pixel 3 XL is more like a ditch. I think I heard somebody say the other day, this one's like a small little slope and it goes down. And then you look at this one here and it's like, wow, that is very evident. So you want to look at those side by side and you can see there, it's a very, very big difference. Okay, so just to get this out of the way, of course, they're both running a Snapdragon 845 processor. The Pixel 3 XL is running a QuadHD display versus a 1080p display on the OnePlus 6T. So you have a little bit of a downgrade there, match point to Google in that regard. Now, the OnePlus has a 6.41 inch screen, and the the Pixel 3 XL has a 6.3 inch. They're both OLEDs. OnePlus calls theirs an optic AMOLED, and then Pixel, they just call theirs an OLED. But OnePlus does have Gorilla Glass 6 versus Gorilla Glass 5 in the Pixel. Now, one area where the Pixel does excel is also has the Titan M security module, which is separate, distinct, and exclusive to Google, which is supposed to enhance your security. It's a specialized module just for that, not just software. Now, where you get a downgrade in the Pixel, you get 4 gigabytes of RAM. That's debatable. A lot of people are unhappy about it, myself included. And then in the OnePlus, you can get a 6 gigabyte or an 8 gigabyte model. And then for the storage, you get baseline 128 gigs of storage with the OnePlus versus 64 with the Pixel. And it's kind of a bit of a heartburn I have there because if you want to get 128, you got to pay an extra $100, and there's no expandable storage. But you do get the lifetime, like high quality cloud storage for your phone, for your pictures, which is nice. But if I want to install stuff, nowadays between downloading and installing and taking 4K video and all that stuff, 128 gigs and 64 just wasn't used to be. just isn't what it used to be, and you need to be able to expand it. So there's that. But you can get a 256 model in the OnePlus, which is also nice. Now, neither one of them have expandable storage, to make that clear, but at least you get the base model 128 on the OnePlus. Now, they both have dual cameras on the back. So on the back of the Pixel, you have, sorry, you only have one camera on the back of the Pixel. You have the 12 megapixel camera on the back, you have the dual cameras on the front. And then on the back of the OnePlus, you have dual cameras on the back, but only one camera on the front. So they're a little bit, they're backwards. So you get one on the back of the Pixel, two on the back of the OnePlus, two on the front of the Pixel, one on the front of the OnePlus. So I know that's kind of confusing throwing all the numbers out there. Both of the cameras are very good. You get the 12 megapixel on the back of the Pixel, and you get a 16 and a 20 megapixel on the back of the OnePlus. It takes really good pictures, and I'll go ahead and put a link in the drop down for the image gallery that I took when I went downtown taking pictures last week. I was really surprised. It takes really good pixels. Now the Pixel definitely takes the best pictures, and if you want the best pictures, you want a Pixel phone. The Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL still had the best camera on the market until the Pixel 3 came out. So if that's telling you something, it's still really good. Plus, the new camera mode that's coming out, so you can take the low light photos, is going to be backward compatible for the Pixel 1, 2, and 3 series. It's called Night Shot. And you can, there's other reviewers that are testing it out right now because it's not on full launch yet, but it takes really good pictures from what I've seen. So on the front camera, you have an 8 megapixel on the Pixel, and you have, well, you have two. You have one with an autofocus with the f1.8, and the other one's f2.2 with the fixed focus, but it's a wider degree lens. And then you have only one front-facing camera on the OnePlus, but it's a 16 megapixel, and it's a fixed f2.0 aperture. So other distinctions, the OnePlus has one speaker versus you get the stereo quality speakers on the Pixel. So it's a little bit better for the Pixel there. The sound is really good. It's a little overwhelming at sometimes. It is there's a lot of depth, and it's surprisingly a lot of depth for the volume and the size of the speakers. But sometimes I don't care for that too much because I feel like it's unnatural. But it's definitely better as far as clarity and volume wise than the OnePlus. So you have that. They're both using USB-C. They have the special dash charge with the OnePlus. It recharges really fast. They both recharge really fast. So it's not really much of a comparison there. The Pixel, though, does have an edge because it has wireless charging. I wasn't the biggest wireless charging fan in the past, but now that it's in new phones and I've been using it somewhat, I've come to expect it. So Pixel gets a leg up in that department. Now, water resistance is also something that people like. I try to keep my phone away from the water because, well, really, phones just shouldn't be around water. It's nice and it's novel if you want to go out and you can take pictures in the water and things like that, but I generally don't. So it's not really much of a, it's not hurting the phone for me, but some people it's a very important feature. So the Pixel has IP68, whereas the OnePlus has nada. So be very careful with taking it anywhere near the water. And then one thing that's cool, and this is the first mainstream phone in America you can get that has a built-in fingerprint sensor in the screen, is the OnePlus. You can double tap on the screen there. You'll see you got the little logo there, and that's where you use the fingerprint sensor. And it actually works really well. There are times that it's faster, and there's times that it's slower. And I found that if you reset your phone every once in a while, if it feels like it's getting laggy, it pretty much fixes that issue. And then on the back of the Pixel 3, you have your fingerprint sensor. And of course, it's a good fingerprint sensor. Really, the original Pixel had probably the fastest fingerprint sensor I ever used. I absolutely loved it. And then the Pixel 2 was good. I still felt like the Pixel 2 was the best, I think. And then this one, it's a little bit slower. I mean, it still works really well. And I don't know if it's maybe because it has like the little graphic, it slowly wakes up the screen. You know, I don't know if that plays some part in it, but I feel like it could have been faster. So, I mean, really, if you take the whole graphic thing out of it and the way that it opens up and wakes up, it's really about the same speed-wise. So I haven't really had any issues with it. Now, as far as accuracy on the in-screen fingerprint sensor, you do have to be fairly precise. It's not very forgiving if you don't get your finger in the target area, but after a day or two, you really don't even pay attention to it. It works out well. But the other thing is it has built-in facial recognition software. It's not just like a cheap, gimmicky software-based facial recognition. It works really well. I was surprised how well it works. In fact, it works so well, most of the time I don't even use the fingerprint sensor because it's already turning itself on before I even get around to pushing the fingerprint sensor. So, very good. All right, so talked about hardware. The biggest thing, and this is kind of like a weight around the neck of the Pixel for me, if they were the same price, really, the Pixel does kind of win out in a lot of areas, but it also loses in some areas. And because of the distinct and very wide gulf in the price difference, you're talking $549, $579 versus $899. That's a lot of money. So we're talking $300 difference. Is the Pixel worth $300 more than the OnePlus? Absolutely, in no way ever would I say that. No, it's not at all. The OnePlus is priced very well. And it's not just the price that makes it a really good deal. What it does is amazing, and it's super fast. It's running the Oxygen version of Android 9.0. They're both running the latest and greatest Android Pie. And I definitely like the experience on the OnePlus better. It feels more refined. It's like they put a lot of time and effort into this Oxygen variant for it. And this is the first time I've used it, so I've been very happy with it. With the Pixel, I don't know if it's because people are just like anti-Pixel, like they're anti-Apple, like they're anti-Samsung, so they find more things to pick at. And of course, the more you charge for something, the more you're going to be subject to scrutiny. If they charge $799 for the OnePlus, people would rip it apart. Whereas if they charge $699 for the Pixel 3 XL, or even $749, people would praise it more than they do now, and a lot of people really do. It's a solid phone. I like it a lot. I've thoroughly enjoyed using it, and of course I had the opportunity to return it during the return period, and I chose not to because the pictures are amazing, which is important to me, and two, it's a solid phone. I do like it. I do have hang-ups over it, like the notch. I think they could have done better with the notch. I don't really care for the squeeze feature. The speakers, I wish pushed more clarity and volume than depth, but that's to each their own. Some people value the depth and the full immersive sound experience. When you talk about the speakers, you've got the front-facing speakers on the Pixel versus you have the one downward-firing speaker that you have on the OnePlus. And it's in like the worst position ever. It's not over here like Samsung and most other manufacturers do. They put it right here. And whenever you hold the phone, look what gets muffled, the speaker. So not cool at all. But you kind of get used to it and you adapt just like you do with every other phone in the world. Another slight drawback, as much as I like the in-screen fingerprint sensor and as novel as it is, it's very unnatural to reach there for a fingerprint sensor when all of them for the last 2 or 3 years have all been on the back versus the Apple one. And sorry, I've been fighting a cold here for the last few days, so that's why it's taking me a little bit longer to get around to this. But overall, I absolutely love this phone. I had apprehensions in the past with getting a OnePlus phone. There were security concerns, also questions about longevity and support and things like that. But they've done really good with their software updates. The OnePlus 5 is even getting Pi now. I saw an announcement on that today. So that's super cool, the 5 and the 5T. Google, you're guaranteed, I believe, 3 years of software support and OS upgrades. So that's very good. And the overall experience is fine. Google is the author of Android, so you're going to have supposed to be the best operating experience possible whenever it comes to using Android. There were some drawbacks, and I don't think it's so much the hardware as it is the software implementation. Moving up to Android 9.0, especially with the adaptive battery and the adaptive display. The battery life on both of these phones was not impressive at all, especially for the first several days. Now, the OnePlus, I used it for like 2 hours the first day using GPS and then taking pictures, and it was dead. I mean, it was like gone. And then the Pixel, I was ranting and raving negatively for days, saying how bad the battery was. And they should have pretty decent battery life, especially considering that the OnePlus has a 3700 milliamp battery, and you have, looks like a 3400 milliamp battery, 3430 milliamp battery on the Pixel. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. But as the operating system learns and the phone, kind of sinks in and figures out what you're using your phone for, how you're using it, what apps you're using, your screen on time will get better, your phone experience will get better, and the battery life will get better. So there is hope. Now, I'm not a big fan of these speed tests because really the app's going to run pretty much the same. And what a lot of people do, and the only concern I have here is I've got 4 gigs of RAM in the Pixel versus the 8 gigs of RAM in the OnePlus. You're definitely going to load up the RAM faster on the Pixel, and it has active RAM management, which some people say is cutting out their music and things like that when they're running multiple apps and streaming things at the same time. But I'm sure that'll get fixed with the software update. But I mean, if you want to do a straight comparison, apples to apples, the OnePlus typically starts things up faster. Now, this is not a real world environment where you're going to find, nobody's just going to sit there and load everything up into their phone and then go, okay, I'm going to load this one, I'm going to load this one, I'm going to load this one, I'm going to load this one. Yeah, it doesn't really work out that way. So, but I will show you side by side how quickly they load. So that's about the same with Instagram. We'll show the cameras. So OnePlus wins on the camera by about 2 seconds there. We'll load up YouTube. YouTube wins. We'll load up Facebook. Pixel 1 on the Facebook. We'll load up Slack. OnePlus wins on Slack. And these are both running on Wi-Fi. Pull up the phone. OnePlus wins on the phone. So, I don't know if it's just the way that the software is built, but it does seem that, responsively and across the board, the operating system seems to be more fine-tuned and runs a little bit better than the Pixel does. But at the end of the day, ultimately, the operating systems they work great. And once you load something, it runs perfectly fine. So if you're just using one phone on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to notice really any difference at all. It's only when it comes down to you put both of them side by side and you go, okay, we picked up a second there, or half a second, or this one shaved half a second off. It's really inconsequential. I don't really find that it's of any value whatsoever, but some people care about it. So I wanted to go ahead and at least show you there are differences. There are variations. So overall, though, fantastic. Both of the phones are great. And if I had to recommend one, though, unless you're a diehard Google and Pixel fan, or unless you just want to have a QuadHD plus screen, or you want the guaranteed software support that you're going to get with Google, I don't really think it's worth $899 versus the $579 price tag where I picked up my OnePlus at T-Mobile. The phone experience is 90% identical, even though we go out and say that the Pixel has the best camera. Of course it does. Yeah, it's an amazing camera. But you get like 90-95% of the same camera quality and experience out of the OnePlus. And I actually really like the OnePlus camera. So you're really not losing if you have either one of these phones. But if I were to make a recommendation, if you're looking at it purely from what's the best phone for the value, or what's the best phone out of the two, unless you just want to spend the money, I would say go with the OnePlus. They do both, of course, have their advantages and disadvantages, but I think if I were to go back and I had the opportunity to buy both of them, I would buy the OnePlus over the Pixel, having used both of them, for quite a while now. But not saying the Pixel is a bad phone. I think it's a good phone. I like the phone. I want to like the phone, and I do, but I don't think it's worth what you pay for it. So I think the market will probably correct some over the next few months, and maybe you might see a price reduction. I've already seen they have buy one, get one free sale that's coming up with Google, I think starting on November the 16th. So I don't know how sales are going with it, but maybe you can get a price reduction on it. And if you really want a Google phone, I'd say get the Pixel 2 XL, which you can get for a good value right now. Anyway, that's my side-by-side comparison, recommendation, thoughts, and the differences on the OnePlus 6T versus the Pixel 3 XL. Again, like I said, they're both solid phones. I love them. But if you think that you're getting a lesser phone by buying the OnePlus, you're not at all. If you think that you're getting a substantially better phone by buying the Pixel, you're not. Like I said, it is 95% identical experience and performance. They're solid, they're both great, but if you want to save some money and get a great phone, I say get the OnePlus. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, I know this was a long one, but I wanted to really go in depth on both of these phones so I could show them off, talk about them, and do some side-by-side comparison stuff and let you see kind of what you're getting, especially with the holidays around the corner and the big sales coming up in a few days. Anyway, so that's all I got, and I'll see you all next time.